It's 6:32, so we'll call this work session of the mayor and council for the city of Snellville to order. It's Monday, July the 8th, 2019. So first we'll go through the regular business meeting, see if anybody has any questions. Invocation and the pledge, if anybody wants to volunteer for that, please see me right after this meeting.
Who's filled out on the job, Gretchen?
Did Jason say he'd do it?
He did.
You'll do both?
No. I can do the pledge.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm not a prayer.
you're not a prayer guy?
Well, I'm just not, that's not. I'm not gonna see
Not his coordinator.
The short answer is no.
All right, then we've got the minutes. Under department reports, we've got the public works update Alan's gonna give. We'll have the approval of the agenda. Under public hearing, we'll give citizens time to talk about the millage rate. Then we have second reading on the hotel motel. I think you all saw some emails go around, I guess yesterday. So if everybody's in agreement, we'll go ahead and postpone that just to give a little more time for some input.
So
Okay.
when are we gonna postpone, because the moratorium as it currently stands only goes to,
27,
July 20th.
yeah, but
20s, yeah.
not
Wait,
very long, so.
The end of next month? No, it's this month.
The issues were, the issues on timing is that the discussion came up because there's an applicant for, who's represented tonight, applicant for a new extended stay motel kind of concept that really triggered the issue. And they have been waiting for several months. So the question became, how quickly would the UDO get to a point where it could be considered? And I think that's still a couple of months away. And so it's okay, how do we balance between the property owners' issues in terms of wanting a special use permit and holding them up for the UDO? It didn't match up really well,
So our moratorium goes till the
27.
27th.
July.
Next meeting? Just before, so.
So
Well,
the
that's
next
just
meeting's
after
the 22nd.
22nd.
So if needed to, we could extend the moratorium an additional couple of weeks. But we have been discussing this for 4 to 5 months. So the fact that we've got new people involved, I mean, they're just gonna have to come along quickly. So if people wanna put comments in, I would say they need to get them in by Friday, so that we have time to look at those comments and decide whether we'll put this, whether we'll take a final vote on July 22nd or whether we'll extend the moratorium additional time.
The two lawyers who are representing the InTown Suites are present tonight. It's Mike McGarity and Chuck Efstration. I think some of you probably know both of them. They are local counsel for Paul Hastings, which is a large Atlanta firm, and the company is a national company. They were not we did have a situation with InTown Suites about a year ago, and I told Mike that. We thought those issues had gotten resolved. This new ordinance really wasn't drafted concerning their interests. But obviously some parts of the ordinance is causing them concern, and probably have gotten a lot more information from Mike's communication over exactly how InTown Suites operates. And so it's an issue that is in some ways covered in this, but not discussed with them. They've had no opportunity for input and would probably like to meet with you guys and have discussions, whatever time period y'all are thinking about. They would want to talk to you about what their interests are. It's, as you can see from the email, it's not just Snellville community that's been wrestling with this issue. Norcross went through it. I think Mike represented InTown Suites in the Norcross debate, and so they sort of worked through some compromises to deal with the issue of third-party payors. That seems to be the biggest issue. Third-party payors for units that would be indigent care kind of facility. So.
We just, and I want to just say, I apologize for the late notice on this. We just got involved in this. We just found out about it really last week. So it was holiday week, and it was difficult for all of us to communicate. Tony was kind enough to call and talk with me a little bit about it. So we're just learning about it, actually through one of the churches that took some folks in our facility. So we're just now, we've been to the property tonight. We want to learn more about it, learn more about how this ordinance impacts. So our folks didn't know about this new ordinance, so it's been a quick learning curve that we're learning as we speak. So we appreciate the patience and just giving us a little time to have a little dialogue with the town, attorneys and the council, and have some input into what may happen going forward. So thank you for giving us a little time, a little breathing room. It's tough over a 4th of July holiday to be trying to stop the train a little bit, but we do appreciate you all letting us do that. So anyway, and however we can start meeting, or there'll be a committee, or however you want to do it, we're happy to do it. And thank you, Mayor, for weighing in on it, and all of you folks having to put up with us on a, that was a short email, so without a lot of information. So we do appreciate your patience. So.
Okay. And then we have the second reading on the CUP for Sam's, for the fuel center. Anyone have questions or concerns they want to talk about before the meeting?
I don't see any. Same thing as Kroger.
The fuel trucks will exit out on.
Knob
what's-
Hill. Go right
Oh, on Knob Hill. Is that road still called, is that called Mount Zion there that they go out on? Would they go out on and then down
Yes.
north, or would they go
Yes.
out on one
No, they
twenty-four?
probably wouldn't go down north, but
I would think 124.
124. I know that was a concern with the Kroger, that's
Yeah.
why I was just asking.
And
how
do we
the-
have a plan on how they plan to enter and exit?
On the site plan,
Because it seemed to me, you'd come in off of
Didn't really
124, circle around and go back out 124.
It
Okay.
really seemed to be more trouble if north would be involved.
Yeah.
yeah, well,
or Mount Zion's not easy.
Mm-mm.
To maneuver.
Yeah, because they have to improve the driveway. You can see at the bottom proposed driveway improvement for the truck on 124 on the site.
So it'd be on 124.
Yeah.
Okay. That seems the most logical.
Okay. Then under new business, we'll be adopting the millage rate. We'll just need a motion and a vote after the public comment period. We have the resolution for the election coming up. That's being passed around right now because it wasn't included in your packet. So if you have it, if you could just take a quick gander at it and then pass it along so everybody's at least seen it.
Oh, don't write on that, Christie. That's the original one.
Sign here?
Don't sign yet.
Don't sign yet.
Don't
Just
sign.
read
It hasn't been voted on.
I thought we all had a copy, sorry.
No, that's not bad.
And then the rest is just
Glad you
confirmations on reappointments. However, there will be on item D for the Board of Appeals, I will be taking Marilyn Swinney off since she unadvisedly is moving.
When you're done, I can see that again. No.
And then that's it for the regular meeting.
there's not much to it.
So we'll go to our work session agenda. Any correspondence?
No, ma'am.
We do need executive session on both real estate and potential litigation.
And then discussion items. First, item A, the early coordination request from Gwinnett County Department of Transportation for the widening of 124 Scenic Highway from 78 to Sugarloaf Parkway.
It's from GDOT, State DOT. They have to comply with the National Environmental Planning Act, which is NEPA. And this is very early. I mean, they say right off the bat, the department is in the beginning stages of looking at the widening of 124. And they include a map with all the way from 78 all the way to Sugarloaf. And what they're asking is for very, narrow, I'd say, input into the NEPA process. And it's very clear that the way they list it in the document, in particular, GDOT would appreciate your assistance in identifying low-income and minority neighborhoods. This would also include help in identifying neighborhood leaders and minority groups or associations located throughout the affected community within the project's area of potential effect. And we can, Mayor, I think you've got a good idea. We can definitely ask for the community's help in doing this. We will, Brian will be back tomorrow. We will make sure this gets out on social media. We'll have information here at City Hall, and we can, you suggested we send some information to the local HOAs. We'll be glad to do that. It's something that we need to respond within the next 30 days, and so we'll see if we can spread the word far and wide and see what type of input we get.
Yeah, and regardless of whether it's input for this specific request, I think it's just good for the public to know that this area is being looked at. There's been some conversation about it, but I think more information out there is better. So that's why I asked to put this on the work session agenda, just so that we could make sure that.
Have they
people are
stated when they expect this might start?
It's, they have not.
They
It's,
haven't,
just
that's what I
very,
thought.
very early.
Because they're just.
I know
this is
it's,
like-
this is
Design
very
review.
preliminary, but that's the next thing people will probably ask.
Yeah,
The only funding they have right now is for the preliminary design.
They
But
move
this is
faster
at
than the
least-
post office.
not so sure about
I
that.
was just thinking that actually.
This is probably a faster process than dealing with it. But at least people will know, of course, this is what's always talked about, is the traffic on 124. And people can at least see that something is being done regardless of how slow it's gonna be, or how long it's gonna take, but it is being worked on. Item B, replacement of trees in the right-of-way at Summit Chase Drive, and also I was adding Hidden Drive on there as well. Todd?
Where's Hidden?
Nobody knows.
Oh,
Hidden,
okay, well, can you
Hidden
whisper it
Drive.
to me?
Hidden
doesn't
Drive
know
is
either.
off of Pate.
Next to Wellhead.
So if you're coming out Springdale in front of the middle school,
Uh-huh.
and you hit Pate,
Uh-huh.
if you turn left, Hidden
Oh,
Drive is just
got
down
it.
there.
One of the
Got it.
first subdivisions
Yeah,
there.
Okay.
I remember picking up, we are a new high-speed internet sign. They kept putting them there, and every day I'd go by, they'd have a new one out, so I'd pick it up. Okay, here's the deal. Summit Chase, currently, the entranceway has these beautiful trees. And as you see, the tree is missing a rather large limb that came down into the roadway. Here's the one at the very entrance, which you see off of 78, which
Missing
looks-
leaves.
Missing leaves and missing branches, but it's got a beautiful trunk. There's us. Here is the section that is directly across from the entrance to Legacy Academy. When Legacy Academy, the property that it sits upon, was rezoned, it was made as a condition that there would be no way to cross the median there. And there was no, you're not supposed to be able to do a U-turn at the end of it. Well, both of those things happen. And 3 or 4 of the trees directly across from the entrance have been killed because people, a couple of people at the big 4-wheel drives would drive across and it slowly killed them off. They were gonna die anyway because you can't plant big trees in a 3-foot median. It just doesn't work, not long term. Prior to 2007, the city of Snellville adopted a tree bank, tree ordinance, which included a tree bank fund. And it's my understanding that every fine that's paid in, or that we do, put out there for somebody who's cut a tree illegally, which happens on commercial property, I think Mayor Pro Tem Emanuel's very familiar with some of those things. Those funds are supposed to go into our tree bank fund, and so it should accrue. At one point, we had almost $200,000 in it. I went back and I checked the budget, the tree bank fund back through 2010, and somewhere between 7 and 10, we went from having a whole bunch of money to having a running balance of $40,000. Maybe I'm reading the budget wrong, but so something's slightly askew. But the Homeowners Association of Summit Chase has recently changed from having the leadership that had been in place since I got off the board 15 years ago to a new group of people. It's very diverse, very young, and they're very motivated to do stuff to help improve the property values, not only of Summit Chase, but the adjacent neighborhoods also, those that run off of Brooks Drive, those that run off of Crestview. This road is, this entranceway is public right-of-way, and it is used by a number of neighborhoods, 5 or 6 directly run off of Summit Chase and Crestview, and then of course the new neighborhoods will be using this as ingress-egress because of the red light. So what I'm asking is we actually get to use some tree bank funds for what they're supposed to be there for, which is replacing or planting trees. So I'd like these death sticks removed and replaced with a large size crepe myrtle along that line, because they're weed trees. They'll be able to survive in a narrow median, and the Homeowners Association has been maintaining the public right-of-way from the beginning of Summit Chase neighborhood, which is actually down at Creekview across the bridge, if you're familiar with it, all the way up to Highway 78 on both sides. They've maintained that for 30 years. They're the ones who put out the pine straw. They're the ones who mow the yard. And so they are asking if we, as a city, could use those tree bank funds for what they're designated for, replacing dead or diseased trees in the public right-of-way. So I would request your support for that, and I assume that the people of Hidden Drive probably would like to do the same thing.
On Hidden Drive, it's kind of a similar situation. The median is much, much smaller than this. It's not anywhere near that big.
As far as length.
Length and width, it's smaller. When you say it's only
Oh,
like
much
3 feet.
smaller.
Yeah, and much smaller, and it's surrounded by curb, a little bit different than that.
Yeah.
But it's been being maintained. There's rose bushes in it now, and supposed to be no grass. And it was maintained for about 20 years by one of the residents there. They do not have a homeowners association in that neighborhood. And he's older and tired and doesn't want to do it anymore, and no one else from the neighborhood will step up to do it. He has suggested several times that the city just come in and take out the rose bushes and cement it over, so that there's no maintenance to be done on it. So that's his recommendation. Butch has gone over there on his own time with a couple Rotary people, wasn't it? Or did you do it by yourself?
We had a shortage of volunteers.
So Butch went over there and weed eated it and round up the weeds and stuff, but of course it's overgrown again, so we need to go ahead and do something this week at least to tide it over until a decision's made, but if y'all wanna go take a look at it and see what happens, Gabe, if you have a recommendation on it, or,
Well, we'll do whatever y'all decide for us to do. I will say that probably Alan estimated about $3,000 to cement that area in. So while that would be less maintenance for their neighborhood, and if and in turn is going to be turned over to Public Works, of course it would be less for us to do as well. So that, I just wanted you to know probably the cost of
Okay.
if, we filled it in.
okay,
The issue becomes, as it is with Summit Chase, this is kind of a community support, community development. And if we concrete it over, that doesn't really set a high bar for that neighborhood for trying to drive their property values and their quality of life.
and
So,
I'm not
right.
arguing for or against that, I'm just saying that is what this one homeowner has said, I don't know what the neighborhood would say.
Right.
We could look at other alternatives too, maybe just planting it with some kind of decorative grass that never needs to be mowed. Something that it's just a matter of
Yeah,
keeping
you
the
can
weeds
put
down
Lurie
until it
oak,
grows up.
Lurie oak with rose bushes, and then it's just a matter of trimming the rose bushes once in a while.
Yeah, you still end up having to
Maintain it.
Weed.
more often.
or a few times a year put out pre-emergent
Pre-emergent.
and stuff like that.
So, but
So
that-
are you talking about on Summit Chase, the city totally taking over the care of the entrance?
No,
No, this is Hidden Drive.
Oh, I know, but I mean,
The neighborhood has no problem continuing to maintain that area, but they just can't
They just want
afford
trees.
to
Trees.
take down the trees and replace them. Especially when we have a tree bank fund that's supposed to fund such things. And years ago, just for the record, I was trying to find a way to spend some of those funds, looked at a number of creative things, and Mr. Powell pointed out that they can only be used in public right-of-way and on public property, so I found some.
Well, and can you have those homeowner groups put together a plan of what they were gonna do? Because I've heard too that they were talking about replacing the Summit Chase entrance sign.
That
Um,
somewhere on this infernal device, I have pictures of that too.
Okay,
They pretty much said, here, you handle, see what you can do as far as trees. I took some pictures up on Centerville Rosebud, well, what's it called? Center Annistown Rosebud Road that runs from West Park Place all the way to Georgia 20 or 124. And they have a median there that has crepe myrtles in it. So I can give you an idea, but no offense, I wasn't gonna go out there and measure and mark stuff off if y'all are all gonna say no anyway.
Can we go out there? Can I just get with Gay? We'll go out there and come up with a little plan. We'll go to both and we'll bring that back. And we'll look at options on Hidden Drive.
I don't have a problem with doing this, and I think the tree bank should be used for that purpose. My only question is, are we setting a precedent that then are there gonna be other neighborhoods that,
I hope there are.
yeah,
but if it's in the right of way, it's our responsibility anyway.
okay, okay. Just so we're prepared if we start getting requests from other neighborhoods saying, oh, we'd like some crepe myrtles too.
Jason, didn't you,
That's a relic of an older development pattern too, because now we
It's not
don't
common.
allow, first you have to have an HOA. Second, any of those planted areas like that are not done within the right of way, they're done around the landscape entrance and they're deeded over to the HOA for us to never worry about again. So, and
Well, we
that's-
have a lot of
older.
older neighborhoods. and-
But most,
Yeah,
I've looked
but they're
at
not
most of them,
built
that
that
just
way.
hidden, and they have that median, which is very odd.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
it's not very unusual.
And the one at Hidden is actually really tight and makes it, I would almost say, take the center part out would be safer. Because when you're pulling in and pulling out, which I did, putting out signs, it's very tight as far as the lanes.
Yeah, we'll make that part of our report.
And if you would take into consideration the older subdivisions that have a sign, and that we're not taking on the upkeep of the sign and the replacement of the sign and that type thing, so when that's all done.
We don't
Yeah.
have a sign bank, we only have a tree bank.
Right. And Summit Chase does have a
Thanks for
design and is
clarifying.
working on
It's
funding
really
the sign. And it basically mimics what they have at the new Saddlebrook over there off of Pinehurst. Large wooden posts with a hanging sign that hopefully is chained to the bottom so it doesn't go running off. And I've been trying to talk them into utilizing the existing base, both for cost and also then we don't get into issues of any changes as far as structure in the right of way, which makes Jason's job a little bit easier. Hey, tell me it's easier.
Depends on the improvement.
Yeah.
You'd still have to permit it, so very good condition.
Okay, so Butch and Gay are gonna take a look at this and get back to us.
And they were willing to come up here and sit in and stare at y'all, and I said, no, don't do that.
Thank you for that.
They'd all love to meet y'all, but
And then item C, we had discussion of the extended stay, but I think we could skip
Table that.
over that since we're gonna table that. Butch, projects?
We do have just a couple of short items regarding the town center for the executive session. And I think you were gonna add kind of an announcement to a committee report, if that went well. The town center plan and design work, the development agreement discussion is starting back again tomorrow. Had a good conversation also with the TSW folks down at the GMA convention. So we'll have to hopefully restart them and give them the direction that we need for the overall project. City marketing, Brian will be on vacation through today. He'll be back in tomorrow. We will have a presentation, a budget presentation, if you will, and quality of life information at the August 12th council meeting. The UDO, Jason and the staff will have our comments back to TSW on July 12th. Hopefully they're ready to incorporate and bring something back out for a work session with both the council, joint work session with the council and planning commission, hopefully later in July. Roundabout construction, good news there, not only on the Fars and Ridgedale roundabout, but also the turn lane at North and Ridgedale. ER Snell has both those projects, and all of the property is in hand now. So the county is ready to turn them loose there. 78-124. Things are changing faster there than we've seen in the past. Like I said, better weather equals faster progress. So we had talked about an operational change in November. Their plan now is to move that up till July 31st.
Yeah, I saw that today on the.
Yeah, they should have the signs out there. They will do that at night, and it will not be on the finished asphalt, it will just be on the binder. But the traffic operation, all of the lanes and the signalization will be put in place on July 31, and that's the way it'll operate from here on out.
Now, Butch, is there a designated place where we can put our lawn chairs and cameras?
Well, we might need to rely on drone footage. Might be a little safer. Maybe Dave could
We can do that.
could
Well,
handle
we
that
figured
for us.
out we can't do it from the top of City Hall.
We've taken care of that issue also. But,
Oh, good, oh, good.
good news here, the work on the column should not be affected, that's continuing. Signals, all of their subs are working right along and will continue to do that. They're out there pouring concrete for the islands and all of the curbing. You can start to see it taking shape, but once it opens, people will understand a little better, especially when those signal heads start operating. And the one thing I talked to Robert after I saw this, he said, Pate Street will officially be closed. That's the Pate Street Civic Drive-in. So I want to clarify that for everybody. And so they are, like I said, with better weather, they're getting a little more progress.
This is associated with that. Dave and I were contacted by a member of the community last night about, he'd been contacted by the owner of the McDonald's. I know that's a roundabout way, but they're having problems getting people in and out because now their only access is directly off 78 and directly off of
That's right.
whatever becomes Knollwood, whatever it's called
Yeah.
on that end.
Right.
And they closed their entrance on the other road.
Yeah.
And went by there today, took a look at it, because I was like, oh, just make it left out, and that way people can get out, because right now, I won't even go there, because you can't get out of the parking lot. And the roadway has been made such that it's been built up, and their exit that used to be there, there's no way to access that anymore. Could you get in touch with DOT and,
I will.
because
Yeah.
if the guy was paid for, I mean, if he was paid right of way, basically, whatever they call that, for diminution of value, losing his entrance, then.
I'm sure he was made aware of
Yeah.
what he was gonna have when it was over.
Right,
But,
but it's just, it is a nightmare, having been by there a couple of times.
Okay.
Because I guess Clower, as it comes up the hill, is still Clower. It backs up so much, people trying to make a left out onto Clower
Can't
back
make
things up, and then nobody can get out of the parking lot.
Okay.
So-
I'll find out what Robert.
Well, if you're coming up from that south part of the bottom part of the hill, you can't turn left into
Right.
McDonald's easily
And-
either because with cars coming around that curve.
And that isn't my favorite McDonald's in the world, but we don't want them to die because of,
You know, and another thing on that note, too, Chief, you might need to know this, the new, the improved roadway coming off 78, so before the McDonald's, they've improved it, and the property owner of those two commercial businesses next down, you talked to him, Paul Hopkins, he said that the tenants there have told him that traffic is coming around there unbelievably fast now. So they've improved it, which is good, to improve traffic flow, but cars are coming pretty quick. So I don't know if it's something we could kind of look at or talk with DOT, maybe they could put something to help. You don't wanna slow
It's
people down.
downhill there too.
Yeah, but maybe just make sure that it's not a safety issue.
Okay. Take a look and monitor that.
Yep.
It looks more like a ramp when you're doing that exit now is the
Yeah.
problem.
I think when everything
That's
gets
dealing- yeah.
done with the lanes there, with the right turn lanes, I mean, the idea is to get people onto Clower.
Right.
And
And
get them
people
around.
moving.
Right.
Yeah.
And open up my right turn lane again. So I can get home faster.
SDS negotiations, we are still set for a county kickoff on July the 10th at the Environmental Heritage Center. Apparently, the agenda is going to be mostly the county discussing what their issues are and how they'd like to see things proceed. Obviously, all the cities will be there, and we'll have a chance to start the discussion based on their information they provide that day. 2017 SPLOST program, once again, the numbers continue to be excellent. And as far as ordinance development, I think we're addressing everything that you guys have put on the table. A couple tonight, and hopefully I think we've got a couple to talk about in executive session. That's about it.
Any other questions?
Can we discuss short-term rental markets for a little bit? and maybe go into that. I'll actually add it to the work session in our next meeting. I sent out an article just today. I'm not sure if everybody's gotten a chance to read it, probably not. But there's a huge concern with the short-term rental markets in many smaller cities, and some of the larger cities have gone ahead and passed regulations, ordinances, and it looks like a good idea to begin talking about that and going one route or the other, either the regulations or perhaps just a ban on any rentals in residential areas under 30 days. It's just something to think about. We'll talk about it more so on the 22nd when everybody's had time to kind of look at it a little bit more.
Okay.
But
What you mean, over 30 days?
Under
ban
30 days.
under 30 in residential.
So it's like you're doing
Residential,
Airbnb for
short-term
like 2
renter,
days
yeah.
or something like
Airbnb,
that.
not that we want to target Airbnb in particular, but that is the obvious point that we're looking at here. You know, the question is quality of life in your residential communities. A lot of these communities are going to become unwilling commercial hotels, and that's not what we zoned them for.
No, and they're also competition for our
For your
hotels,
hotels.
which pay fees to
Exactly.
fund all of our activities.
And it looks, you know, that's one of the routes we could go with this. If we want to regulate them like a business, make them get a business license, and then they're subject to the hotel motel tax that we have. Or we go to the ban. I mean, those are the two simplest ones. But just something to kick around next time.
Okay. So you'll put that on the work session
Yes.
agenda for next time? Anything else? All right, with that, during the work session of the mayor and city council of Snellville, Georgia, Mayor Bender announced that certain matters should be discussed in a closed session of the meeting and asked council to